The letter was taped to my front door at 6 a.m. I picked it up, and the first line hit me like a punch to the chest. You owe $15,000. Pay within 48 hours or we will begin legal action. I read it again. And again. Because none of this made any sense. I don't pay HOA fees. I never signed up for HOA. I am not even a member. And yet, here was this letter, demanding $15,000 from me like I owed them my life. My name is Daniel. I'm a single dad. I have a 7-year-old daughter named Lily. We moved into this house 8 months ago. It was a quiet street, good school nearby, and the price was right. That was it. No HOA agreement. No contract. Nothing. The house belonged to me, free and clear. I paid cash. No loans, no strings. Just me, my daughter, and a small house on Maple Street. But that morning changed everything. I flipped the letter over. At the bottom, there was a name. Margaret Hale. President of the Maple Street Homeowners Association. I had seen her before, tall woman, always wearing a blazer like she was running a corporation. She waved at me once when I first moved in. That was it. We never talked. Never had a single real conversation. And now she was demanding $15,000 from me. I called the number on the letter. It rang twice. Maple Street HOA, this is Margaret. Yeah, hi. I got your letter, I said, trying to stay calm. Oh good. So you know what you owe. Ma'am, I'm not a member of your HOA. I never signed anything. There was a pause. A short one. Then she said something that made my blood go cold. Every house on this street is part of the HOA, Mr. Daniel. Whether you signed or not doesn't matter. You live here now. You pay. I hung up. I sat at my kitchen table for a long time after that. Lily was eating cereal, watching cartoons, completely unaware that her dad was sitting 3 feet away, feeling like the ground was about to open up underneath him. $15,000. I didn't have $15,000. Not even close. And 48 hours, that was it. 2 days. That afternoon, I went outside to check the mail. And that's when I saw it. Margaret Hale was standing at the end of my driveway, phone in hand, talking to someone. She looked at me. Smiled. And then she said something into the phone that I couldn't hear from where I was standing. But the way she smiled. That smile told me this wasn't over. That smile told me she had something planned. And I had no idea what it was. The next morning I woke up to knocking. Not soft knocking. Hard. Like someone was trying to break the door down. I grabbed my phone, checked the time, 7:15 a.m. Lily was still asleep. I walked to the front door and looked through the peephole. 2 men. Both wearing black jackets. One had a clipboard. The other was looking up and down the street like he didn't want anyone to see him there. I opened the door halfway. Mr. Daniel, the tall one asked. Yeah. Who are you? We're here on behalf of the Maple Street HOA. Margaret Hale sent us. He held up a piece of paper. This is a final notice. You have until tonight to vacate the property or pay the full amount owed. My heart started beating faster but I kept my face straight. Vacate? This is my house. I own it. The shorter one stepped forward. Sir, we don't make the rules. We just enforce them. Margaret was very clear. Tonight. I looked at both of them. Something felt off. These weren't lawyers. They weren't cops. They were just 2 guys in black jackets with a piece of paper. And that paper, I looked at it more carefully. There was no official stamp. No legal case number. Nothing. Who exactly hired you? I asked. They looked at each other. Just for a second. But that second told me everything. Just pay the fine, Mr. Daniel. It's easier that way. They left. And I stood there, holding that fake paper, thinking about Lily sleeping upstairs, not knowing that two strangers just showed up at our door telling us to leave our own home. I wasn't scared anymore. I was angry. I spent the whole day on the phone. First, I called my lawyer, a guy named Rick. I had known Rick for years. He's the kind of person who picks up on the first ring when it matters. I told him everything. The letter, the phone call, the two men. Rick listened without saying a word until I finished. Then he said, "Daniel, don't touch anything. Don't pay anything. Don't sign anything. I'm coming tomorrow morning." That night, after Lily fell asleep, I sat in the dark living room. I looked out the window toward Margaret's house. The lights were on. I could see her shadow moving behind the curtains. She was on the phone again. And then my own phone buzzed. Unknown number. I picked up. Nothing. Just breathing on the other end. Then a voice, not Margaret's. A woman's voice, but younger, shakier. "Mr. Daniel, you need to know something about Margaret Hale. Something she doesn't want anyone to find out." The line went dead. I stared at my phone. My hands were shaking. Because whoever that was, she just changed everything. And I had no idea who she was or what she knew. But one thing was clear, Margaret Hale was hiding something big. And someone on this street was scared enough to make an anonymous call in the middle of the night just to warn me. The question was, why? The next morning Rick showed up at exactly 8 a.m. He walked in, sat down at my kitchen table, and put a folder in front of me. A thick one. "I did some digging last night," he said. "Daniel, Margaret Hale is not who she pretends to be." He opened the folder. Inside were papers. Property records. Photos. Letters. I started reading and my jaw dropped. Margaret Hale was never elected president of this HOA. She appointed herself. 3 years ago, the original HOA board dissolved because nobody wanted to run it anymore. Margaret stepped in quietly. No vote. No approval. She just started sending letters, collecting money, and nobody questioned her because she acted like she had all the power in the world. But here was the thing that hit me the hardest: the HOA itself was never legally registered with the city. It didn't exist on paper. Not officially. Which meant every single dollar she collected from the neighbors over the past 3 years was illegal. "How did you find all this?" I asked. Rick smiled. "I have a friend at City Hall. One phone call, Daniel. That's all it took." I thought about the anonymous call I got the night before. Someone on this street already knew. Someone was living under Margaret's shadow and was too scared to speak up. Until now. That afternoon, I did something Margaret never expected. I knocked on every single door on Maple Street. One by one. I showed them Rick's folder. I showed them the proof. And house by house, I watched the same thing happen, shock first, then anger, then relief. Relief that someone finally said it out loud. By 4 p.m., 12 families had signed a single document. A complaint. A real one. Filed directly with the city and with the police. Margaret saw me walking back to my house. She came outside, blazer on, phone in hand, ready to fight. She pointed at me and said, "You think you can just go around behind my back like this?" I stopped. Looked at her. And said, "Margaret, it's not behind your back. It's right in front of it." She didn't know what I meant. Not yet. At 6 p.m., 2 police cars pulled up on Maple Street. Real cops this time. Not the 2 guys in black jackets Margaret had hired to scare me out of my own home. Real officers. With real badges. They walked straight up to Margaret's front door. She opened it with that same smile she always wore, the one that said she owned everything and everyone around her. It lasted about 3 seconds. The lead officer held up a piece of paper. "Margaret Hale, you are under arrest for fraud, illegal collection of funds, and impersonating a licensed property management authority." Her face changed. That confident look disappeared completely. She looked down the street at all the neighbors standing on their porches, watching. 12 families. All watching. No one said a word. No one needed to. They put the handcuffs on her quietly. She didn't fight it. She just looked at me one last time as they walked her toward the car. And for the first time since I met Margaret Hale, there was no smile. I stood on my front porch with Lily holding my hand. She looked up at me and asked, "Daddy, why are they taking that lady away?" I looked down at her. Then I looked at my house. My land. The place I bought with my own 2 hands for my daughter to grow up safe. "Because nobody gets to take what's yours, baby," I said. "Not when you fight back the right way." Lily nodded like she understood. And honestly, in that moment, I think she did. Rick called me that night. He told me the city was already opening an investigation into how Margaret had been running this fake HOA for 3 years without anyone catching it. 12 families were set to get their money back. Every single dollar. And Margaret Hale, she wasn't getting out anytime soon. I sat on my porch that night after Lily went to bed. The street was quiet. The kind of quiet that only comes after a storm passes. I looked up at the sky and took a deep breath. I didn't move to Maple Street to fight anyone. I just wanted a home for my daughter. But when someone tries to take that from you, you learn real fast what you're willing to stand up for. And I stood up.